Now?
Now? All right.
Alright, I'm Jaxler, and with me is my lovely co-host, Single Scoop.
I'm being slandered in the...
I have to get the first word in.
Fair enough.
No, you go.
Yeah, so welcome to Chibi-Robo, everyone. So you have been slightly misled. I am actually Jaxler. I'll be the one doing the run, and then Single
It's
Scoop
true.
will be...
I can't believe I believed it. Oh my god.
Like I'm looking at twins. Which one's the real Jaxler? I don't know what to do.
Alright, anywho, so this is Chibi-Robo any percent. We're just gonna get right into it. So time starts as soon as I load this file. So I'll count us off from 3 and then we'll start on go. So let's get started in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so this is Chibi-Robo. So this is a 3D adventure game that was released in 2005 on the GameCube in Japan and did not come out until 2006 in the West, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably wrong on that. But the premise of this game is you play a 4-inch tall robot trying to clean a house and make the Sandersons family happy here. So for an any percent speedrun of this game, what we have to do is fix a robot called Giga-Robo. That's sort of the main quest of the game that triggers the credits, which is sort of what our community has agreed upon for any percent. So in order to do that, we have to fulfill a couple of requirements. First of all, we have to find the Giga-Robo's missing leg. We have to find and recharge its battery. And then we have to input a passcode onto the foot, which is hidden. Now, 2 of those things are really easy. The passcode for the foot is the same every time. So we don't have to worry about that at all. We have it memorized. It's 200667, just a flex. And then you'll see us get the leg about the hour 40 mark. I believe it's been a little bit since we've been playing a lot of bingo lately. So
I'm still stuck on you just gave out this innocent family's password to their precious Giga-Robo just to the public at large. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's all good. It's just the date of their anniversary.
Yeah. It's always the date of their anniversary.
Yeah. So something that's already been mentioned that we'll point out here is that we're actually playing this game in Japanese. So this is something you'll see across multiple different speed games, but essentially the Japanese language when written can express the same kind of dialogue in less characters than you can in English. And when there's less characters to put out on screen, it means all the text boxes get run through faster. So as a result, JP is the fastest language to play on, and just the language alone saves about 5 minutes over the course of the speed run. You'll also notice that there is this cursor on screen, and that is because we're playing on the Wii port of this game. Now, if you've actually ever heard of this game, you might be shocked that this even exists. So there were a bunch of GameCube games that got re-released as new play control ports with added Wii functionality such as pointer controls, motion controls. I think the most famous examples of this were Pikmin 1 and 2 when they got ported, Metroid Prime trilogy as well. What's weird though is that this is the only one that never got localized in the West. Now we'll get a little bit more into why we're doing this later, but for now we're in day 1. So this is kind of like an introduction to how we're supposed to play the game. So our first goal is to grab this rose, climb up here, and we're going to give it to Jenny as her birthday present. This is sort of just introducing us to how to play the game. So there's not too much going on here in terms of like strats or gameplay, all that much outside of just we've memorized exactly what to do here. So we'll talk a little bit about what makes this run really interesting. So there's sort of like 2 really major systems that we're kind of balancing throughout the run, which are the day-night timer and our money routing. Oh, sorry, 3. Also our health routing, but we'll get there. Essentially, in order to fill the Giga battery, which is one of the requirements for reaching the credits, we need 10,000 moolah from places throughout the house. And so that's quite a lot. And on top of that, we also need enough money for upgrades throughout the game that are required for progression. So we have to, a lot of the routing that goes into getting the money for this run is extremely convoluted. It won't make sense until we actually get into sort of the core gameplay loop here. On top of that, we're also going to be balancing an inking day-night cycle throughout the run. By default, every days are split in half between day and night, where certain events happen during the day and certain happen at night, and then certain events happen after enough of these day or night cycles have passed. So essentially, that'll get I'm stumbling all over myself, but
You're going off.
yeah, thank you. But what makes this run really hard is the amount of events and sequences we're going to try to squeeze into these 5-minute segments. We're going to be keeping our timer at the default 5-minute timer slot for the majority of the run. We will be upgrading it towards the very end of the run, and we'll explain why, but that won't come into focus for a while. So that is the end of day 1, so not too much going on there. But essentially Telly is telling us about this happy point system where by cleaning up stains, picking up trash and throwing it away, etc., you can get happy points, which you can use to upgrade your battery, which we'll get into later. But what we're going to do here is we're going to get a save prompt, and we're actually going to save and reload the game. So the reason why is that there's a couple of extra lines of dialogue after this bit. So what I'll do is I will save, wait for it to change in the menu, and then reload the file. And what that does is as soon as you have the chance to save, the game sets a flag where it basically keeps Telly from repeating lines over and over again to prevent what I would assume to be infinite loops. So as a result, that lets us skip a couple lines of dialogue. I don't remember how much time that saves because
I don't know on Japanese, but in English it was only like 7 or 9 seconds. But that was like the most exciting 7 or 9 second time save ever, because that was the only interaction where Telly speaks after you save. Every other time he stops on you saving. So it's just like, what? You can skip dialogue. You can skip 2 lines of dialogue. Unreal.
Yeah, well, technically now we have Teriyaki Blue Skip, but that's only on the GameCube versions of the game, but we'll get into that later. So you're going to see me start off by abusing a technique that we just call sliding. When you're running at full speed and try to turn around in the opposite direction super quick, it puts you in this sort of sliding skidding animation. And it turns out that while you're sliding and skidding, your battery goes down slower. Now, the way the battery works is that it functions as your health bar, but it also continues to drain over time and can be sped up by depending on the actions that you do. So obviously, if we take damage from enemies, that'll go down, or if we take fall damage, we'll lose battery. But also just walking and using some of our equipment will lower our battery meter. So what sliding does is if you actually pay attention to how quickly the battery meter scrolls, we actually lose battery at a much lower rate than you would if you were just walking. And so as a result, you're gonna be seeing me slide throughout the run. And it may seem like a very minimal thing, but it's gonna lead to a huge amount of time. Well, time save in a roundabout way. A lot of the routes that you're gonna be seeing me do in this game are essentially, but that doesn't really get reflected in day 1 exactly. So this is a chibi door. These are pocket dimensions with money in them, and they're going to be our primary source of cash in the run. The reason why is that the other major way to get money in the game is super slow, which is by throwing trash away. Throwing trash away, not only does it not give you a lot of money, it also invokes a really long cutscene, and it gives you happy points, which can cause you to miss out. Which can cause you to get extra battery upgrades, which can slow you down even further, but that'll make a little more sense later. What we're doing right now is a sequence of story events to sort of get us kicked off into the beginning of the game is kind of loosely linear. You're supposed to do a set series of things to escape the living room and then eventually make your way down to the basement. That's sort of our next major goal. And to do that, we're going to talk to arguably the best character in the game, Drake Redcrest. He is a proprietor of justice, and unfortunately you don't get to hear his dialogue because it's in Japanese right now. But what we need to do is learn how to be a superhero, and he's going to give us a spare costume of his that he has. So in this game, you get a bunch of costumes that you can use to pose, and that lets you do certain things. And so we need Drake's costume here to pose in front of another character to scare her out of the way of the kitchen door, and that will let us progress further. So he's going to dab at us repeatedly throughout these cutscenes, and he's going to tell us a bit about being a Space Ranger. I apologize in advance if Kabasco's in the chat, because he's going to get really mad at me for calling it a dab.
Kabasco got his one shout out when he mentioned Teriyaki Blue Skip.
That is also true. So very critical, we say no here. That dialogue prompt asked us if we wanted to know how to put on a piece of clothing, and me being a functional adult will have no trouble with that. However, if you say yes, it is very, very slow. So very, very critical right there. And so now that we have the cost, we have the clothing, but we need to learn proper dab etiquette. So what we're going to do is do a mini game with Drake here to learn the proper timing for dabs. And so it's going to be a basic timing mini game where I have to press the posing button within a certain window that Drake does it. And he actually triggers sort of that timing at a random interval in a means to throw you off, if that makes sense. So there's actually a little bit of randomness here where you have to hope that you get a quick Drake. It probably accounts for like 1 to 2 seconds, but for this game, it only minorly matters. I haven't seen like a super long Drake in a long time, but
yeah, it's definitely the most like tense moments when he's just like staring at you.
Oh, I said no,
and
gosh
you're-
dang it. All right, well, there goes like 5 seconds.
That is one downside to Wii.
Yeah,
You have to
because
select yes or no with the Wii pointer instead of like pressing left and A or right and A, as
Yeah.
opposed to any other video game. It's not on the Wii.
yeah, the Wii version has its benefits for the speedrun, but for actually playing the game, it's a little frustrating at times, especially once we get the Chibi Blaster. So there we go, we have successfully dabbed. That was actually a good Drake. He responded rather quickly, which is exactly what we want. Thank you. He's actually going to give us a little money too. So our first major money threshold is to try to get as close to 1,110 moolah as possible. If we get it right on the dot, we can actually skip a text dialogue. Sometimes you used to, depending on your route, you would try to go for even more. But because of a bunch of new routing changes that happened roughly 4 months ago, it's a lot more feasible to try to go for this dialogue skip with Telly by having exactly the amount you need.
So are you telling me you try not to go over?
Yeah, no, I go for the strat now.
Okay.
Well, I mean, with the shoe shining, you don't need that kind of money anymore.
Yeah. I want to say that was like the biggest disagreement I've ever had with you is being like a penny over.
How much time does that save?
Like 3 seconds. It's literally one text box that gets.
Okay, that is true. Oh, speaking of text boxes, we actually took
There's a
off the
lot.
costume going into this cutscene because there will be an extra line of dialogue with Sophie here if you're wearing the cutscene, or if you go into the cutscene wearing the Drake Red Crest suit. So, small little things like that throughout the run. Yeah, it's been kind of cool. We had a pretty major route change. Also, shoutouts to Tully clipping through the book during that cutscene. That happens on all versions of the game. So we are gonna dab in front of Sophie here, and then she will get out of our way. And then, if you get really lucky with your drawers, so the drawers, when you pull them out in this game, they can give you extra moolah. If you get really lucky, you can actually skip this chibi door coming up. And the reason why that's fast is because of the day-night timer. So, to try to briefly explain why we have a little bit of downtime, essentially certain events can't oh, nice swag. Certain events in game can't happen until a certain amount of days or nights have passed. And as a result, the only way we can advance time, at least at this point in the game, is to make sure that we're not in cutscenes. So every time you go into a chibi door, there's the cutscene for opening it, as well as the time when the timer is paused while you're inside the chibi door. So a lot of what goes into routing is trying to cut out as many doors as possible.
Yeah, basically anything that's not just normally walking around the house will freeze the timer, including just like picking up an item or how he's recharging right now.
Yeah, so we're gonna get to our first clip here. So I'm gonna focus for just a second, and then we'll explain why we're doing this after the fact. Oh, first try, let's go. Okay, so we just clipped through that wall, and that looked like really easy, but there's a little bit more going on under the hood there than you would expect. Essentially, I'm buffering a forward input out of a slide using the equipment menu by opening and closing it really fast. And when you slide, you're essentially sticking Chibi's model a little bit into the wall. And opening the menu to buffer a forward input lets you remain inside the wall and pass right through it. So that's like one of the biggest discoveries that got found in this game. We'll talk a little bit more if we have time about the history of that, but coming up after that is probably one of the oldest tricks in the entire speed game, which is basement hover. But I'm going to be doing a modified version of it with another wall clip for marathon safety. So let's see if I get this rather quickly. Ooh, second try, nice. Okay, so...
As long as you land on the swing.
Exactly.
It's a long way down if you miss that.
Yeah, and it puts you at risk of being super behind on the cycle, so... generally speaking, night one is a pretty lenient cycle, but I'm very glad that we got that first try.
Oh,
That
so
would've
can
been
you
bad.
afford to miss it once?
You should be able to, yeah.
Okay.
There should be a backup. All right, and then now we're gonna go down and grab the Giga Charger. This is one of two components that we need in order to charge the Giga battery. In order to get, so the reason we did that complicated looking wall clip and hover is because normally to get up here, you have to lower down a platform using the Chibi Blaster. And the Chibi Blaster costs, is the thing that we need 1,110 moolah for. And on top of that, hitting that does a really long cutscene. And there's also this modified version of this cutscene that we're watching because a certain character named Plankbeard is not spawned in right now. So because of all of those things, doing that saves, what, roughly 3 minutes or so?
Oh yeah, it's a few minutes. Also, the swing cutscenes. There was so much like advancement of like skipping swing cutscene or like the birdcage.
Yeah, because there's a birdcage you can use there in order to create a shortcut, so it doesn't take as long to get up there. But with routing changes and improvement in runner skill over the year, we've found ways to skip it, or we just risk it and don't go for it entirely. So we're going into a bit more cutscene territory here. So this is kind of a cool instance of one of the reasons why the Japanese Wii version, specifically the Wii version, is faster. And it's because normally when you play this off a GameCube disc, the game runs consistently at 30 FPS, except I think on the title screen and in menus. But here it runs at 60 FPS most of the time, and especially during some of these cutscenes. So you're gonna see a bit of a story cutscene here, and I'll shut up for a little bit because it kind of explains the lore for people who haven't seen this. But all of these JPEGs that are gonna be flipping on and off actually flip off faster on this version because of the higher frame rate. Or at least that's the reason we think why it flips through faster. Yes, this version of this game's really weird. So yeah, Scoop, I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but it's like normally these would hang, what, roughly 4 or 5 seconds a piece.
Yeah, it seems to be going by pretty quickly. I've only played the Wii version like a few times, so I've only seen this a few times.
Yeah.
So.
Probably for the best.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, one of the things that's really hard is that we have a really fun bingo format for Chibi-Robo on GameCube, so that's what we like to play a lot. So it's really frustrating trying to do a lot of the stuff we do on GameCube and then swap over to this version if we want to go for RTA runs. Although we'll talk about this a bit later though, but every version of the game is split on the leaderboard. So USA and PAL discs are on their own page. Japanese GameCube discs are on their own page, and Japanese Wii discs have their own. And the big reason why is due to accessibility. Chibi-Robo, especially for English and PAL copies, is notoriously expensive to get. Generally speaking, Japanese copies are a lot cheaper. You can find a GameCube or Wii copy for like 20 bucks. But then you still have import charges, and then there's the accessibility issue of trying to get your Wii to be able to run. Or trying to get your Wii to region free so that you can run it. Shh, don't tell anyone. But for accessibility reasons, all the different categories are split. And I think we're talking about potentially creating an emulator category.
Sort of. If someone does a
Sort
run.
of. Yeah. If someone does a run. So yeah, we have to sit through this cutscene because it jostles the Chibi battery out of Giga-Robo here, and we need to have the battery because returning the Giga Charger and the Giga Battery sets a crucial flag in the game's story, where after 1 day and 1 night passes, or vice versa, it will trigger the next major story sequence. So we need to make sure that we get these as early as possible, deliver them to the Chibi house so that we can have access to spy doors as early as possible. On top of that, generally speaking, casually, you usually don't have enough time to get here if you're fast until the next upcoming day cycle. So being able to do this sequence this early is really, really critical for beating the game fast. This sort of, it's generally referred to as Night 2 spy doors, and I believe it was Kabasco who discovered this, so, yeah, it's been kind of funny because a lot of us have been running the game since, well, Scoop, you've been running the game longer than any of us, since like 2013 or 20...
Yeah, something like that. I want to say 2015.
Yeah, and I think I got into the, I got in like 2015 or 2016.
Yeah, for a long time I was just only routing the game before I do run, because I want, with like the day-night cycle of this game, the way I had it routed for a while is that I'd have to wait like 2 full days. So I never wanted to do a run until I like had everything figured out. And the biggest thing that nobody knew on like old SDA threads, that everyone like had their own like routes written out, but nobody actually did a run.
Yeah.
Everyone was saying like, I do the spy doors on like, what was it, like day 3?
Day 3, yeah.
Day 3.
It was day 3 for the longest time.
And I followed all their routes to like the dot, and it never had them spawn on day 3. It's always night 3. Like someone could have said like, you know, shoot everything in the credits, and then day 3 spiders, and I'd believe them, you know. I'd try it out. But it was just always an anomaly, and it still was. I didn't even know by the time I figured out a route that had night 3, or what am I thinking? Day 3 spiders. Day 3 spiders, like, I still didn't understand why it worked. And
yeah.
I think, was it like the last, if not the last, like probably like the second or third to last thing figured out about this game is how the spiders spawn.
Because the reason why day 3 spiders used to work and why it took us so long to figure it out is what we would do is we would grab the charger and battery and then just let the cycle end. And then because of the game's logic, we would have returned those 2 things on day 2. So it wouldn't be until day 3, because a day and a night need to pass, that we would see the spiders reappear, or appear for the first time. So now we're out of cutscene land for a little bit. We're actually going to backtrack upstairs. This is where, if you've seen like really old school, I doubt anyone has, but if you've seen really old school routes of this game, this is where things start to really differ, because we're actually going to go back upstairs, mostly to go drop off the Giga Charger and Giga Battery. But we also, we're also going to be grabbing a couple of more moolah sources as well, so. But yeah, something that we didn't really mention is how we got into the foyer to get to the basement. which is a sequence break that's been around in various forms throughout the game's history called foyer. It's
I don't really
what do
call
we
it
call it?
anything.
Just mug skip.
Well, Mug Skip was the original, but no, that was when you went through the foyer.
Yeah.
If anything, it'd be like Mug Skip Skip, but no, we didn't call it anything.
Right. It's been really complicated because normally you're supposed to get a piece of equipment in the kitchen called the mug, and you would use that to get across the foyer to avoid these guys shooting at you that prevent you from getting across. And so, also, you also can't casually get the mug until day 2 because there's a open drawer in the way, because it's on the kitchen counter. We used to have a way to get the mug, well, I mean, we still do, and it's used in bingo quite frequently. But the very first method of getting into the basement early was by pause buffering by using the equipment menu, and things in game would still occur, such as bullets moving toward you. But nothing would hurt you. You were invincible. So we would pause, get the iframes from getting hit, but without taking any damage, and use that to basically iframe across the room. It was super slow. And then after that, Scoop, I think it was you that discovered Sync Clip, where...
No, that was someone else. I just, it wasn't possible to get from the sink to the foyer with only 20 battery after the...
Yeah.
After the spare battery.
Oh, I'm gonna have enough money for the cutscene skip. Let's go. That's really good.
Need a hot 10 coin.
That's really, really nice. Sorry, I'm just talking to myself a little bit. But yeah, essentially there used to, the strat we used to do before wall clipping was discovered, or kind of rediscovered, if you will, was was we used to buy a backup battery, which puts you back at 20 health if you die. And we used to use that while climbing a ladder in order to... there's like a ladder kind of in the sink that you can use to climb in and out of the sink drain. And so we used to use that to clip through the wall of the sink and use that to get out of bounds and reach the loading zone of the foyer through the kitchen. But that ended up being really slow. Well, kind of obviously, but at the same time, it also required that we, purchase one of those backup batteries, which required a lot of extra moolah, extra cutscenes. But basically, once wall coping got found, this game kind of got destroyed. It was extremely hyped.
Yeah, there were 2 locations in the game where you can just naturally clip without much preparation. Well, not prep. There was a lot of preparation for one effort. Yeah. It was just like a given that you can clip if you do everything, if you set this all up, and now we just have the ability to clip whenever we want.
Yeah, and that combined with the ability to slive and conserve our battery lets us do some really ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
So, for example, up until now, I mean, obviously the sliding has been really helpful. The biggest reason why battery conservation is so important is you want to avoid recharging as much as possible, because that's another cutscene that you have to sit through that pauses the in-game timer. So we try to avoid that as much as possible.
It's weird to think of it like that, because before we had sliding, we would recharge. Like, if we would recharge, it's because we really needed it.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, I don't want to recharge. It's so slow. We're just like, no, I need this for the route to work.
Yeah. So normally there's like a couple of backup coins that you can get here.
Blaster?
No, I don't buy the Splaster till next cycle.
Oh, okay. I was curious because of the battery.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. So we have to wait out the timer here because we actually, the faster you go, you actually have a little bit of extra leeway for the cycle to end here. So we've got a bit of time to chill here. So if you folks got any messages you want to plug, now would be a really good time.
Yeah. Hi, it's late. I'm a little tired.
All good.
Although we've recently hit 3K, we got like an hour and 45 minutes left in this run. I think by the end of this run, we can hit 3.5K maybe. So let's get those donations going. can still buy Mushy Mania. That'll also go to the cause. That's pretty close. That's one sale off from a milestone too. So, you know, $5 you get a game. Not a big deal.
Yeah, I should also mention, I am also doing the run after this, and there is a bid war for the character costume. So if you want to sway the odds for that, you can donate towards that as well.
I completely forgot I had a bit about that. Now it's ruined. I guess I'll throw it in anyways. It wouldn't sound like this. For those familiar with the GameCube version, but not the Wii version of this game, is that everything looks more chrome. And that would have been a foreshadowing to the next run. And then it would be like, check out the marathon schedule.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was really funny. I can't believe it.
So we're going to be buying the Chibi Blaster here, and that is going to, for right now, allow us to break open stickers, but we're not going to use it quite yet for that purpose. I'm going to let you all know in advance that there's a bit of a volume warning, because I'm going to death abuse here, actually, and we'll explain why. But I need to focus on the mash here for a second.
Is it like louder on Wii?
It's just generally loud.
Yeah, okay.
So something I'm also doing here is that I'm pointing, I'm not using the cursor to aim. I've actually deliberately moved it away from the sensor bar. That's because it's really hard to mash and point at a wall, because once your projectile hits the surface of that wall, it immediately allows you to fire again. Aiming with this thing is really bad. We'll get more into it later, but aiming is really bad, so as a result, I try to point my cursor off screen, so it'll just default to shooting straight in front of me. Now, the reason that we do this is that the first time you die in a new file of Chibi-Robo, you get this cute little costume called the Trauma Suit. We don't have to learn how to pose with this one. It comes built in the ability to warp to the Chibi house on command. And so, normally you have to pay for that with money in the shop, but if you just die, you get it for free. So, pretty big time saver there. On top of that, because we had exactly 0 money when we died, normally Telly has a line where he tells you that, oh no, you lost some money because you died. But that doesn't trigger if you didn't have any money to begin with. So, that's what Scoop and I were talking about earlier during night one.
That sick routing.
Big brain.
Fourth Kabasco reference. He was in the chat and said hi.
Oh, let's go, Kobe.
But he left, so. Okay.
Oh. Yeah, so I'm actually going to save here because we're going into day 2 now, which I think most people would argue is one of the hardest, if not hardest, cycles in the whole run. There's going to be so we're waiting until night 2 for the next main story event. So we're going to be spending the rest of this cycle essentially gathering money. And so what we're going to start off is, this is actually a relatively new part of the route that I think I routed in, is I'm going to do a real quick wall clip right here. And there's actually a 100 gold coin that the developers left out of the boundaries of the map that you were never supposed to see. So sorry, I had to be quiet there for a second. Normally doing clips is not that bad, but for that one, you either have to do that clip facing perpendicular to the camera or facing directly into the camera, and both of those angles are awful. So Single Scoop actually hasn't seen some of the new route changes that have happened. So what I'm actually doing here is I'm grabbing all of these sort of loose change tokens right here. So this one's 50, and then I'll be getting another 50 token right over here. And so what we used to do is open a Chibi door in this cycle right next to the trash can here in the living room. But by getting all this extra change, we can actually avoid having to do that entirely. And every time we can cut out a Chibi door, it's a very big time save. So I don't know if you knew about that one, Scoop, but...
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So that was actually a cutscene skip I was setting up right there. Normally, the game will show like a 12-second cutscene when you approach that plug right there for the first time, telling you how to climb things. But if you hover down onto it from the top of the outlet, you can actually land on the cable And the actual plane for the trigger is like pixels thin. So you can actually abuse that to avoid that trigger and save 12 seconds. Now, normally that setup is like way longer than the actual cutscene itself, but because we're still waiting, we still have to run down the in-game timer, it mostly saves time from letting the clock run down. So don't worry about my battery. Each chibi door only costs 10 of my battery points to open. So we have this very carefully routed here. So I'm gonna go for a thing called a plug drop here. Okay, there we go, not bad. So what I did there is, as I was sliding off, there's a, I don't know how big the frame window is, but there's a window where you can put in certain commands and Chibi will execute them while he's falling off the ledge. And during those events, you're invincible. So I used that right there to negate all fall damage so I could get down without having to waste time and battery on the Chibi-copter. So,
very small detail I'd like to point out that ties in with that is as he was leaving the Chibi room, he pressed B to drop his plug. He dropped his plug and entered the loading zone at the same time, and those occur simultaneously. So instead of like having to go out of the house and then dropping the plug to have it pick it back up, he just like did both at the same time. So it's a nice little touch. He'll try to be doing it with most loading zones as he enters.
Yeah. So also while Scoop was talking, we did a sequence break to get into the backyard early. Well, kind of. You're supposed to have the blaster to get into the backyard, but doing that is slow. However, there's a loading zone that's always present for when the dad opens up these sliding glass doors later on in the game. So we can actually abuse that loading zone to skip that cutscene. It saves a bunch of time. So this is the really hard part. So we're going up here to a way later part of the game to get roughly 1,300 moolah from some doors up here. This is going to require me to do a clip through this web that normally requires a later upgrade with the charge chip, and then possibly one of the hardest tricks in the whole run, which is bird clip. So I'm going to shut up here for a second. Come on. I'm choking.
Breathe.
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is not looking good. Should I just reload the save?
Did you save after the door?
Yeah.
Oh, then yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So I went a little, I took a little too many attempts at that, and I would have not have been able to get all the doors I needed to there, so I need to reload this backup save. That's why we saved there. That clip is notorious for killing runs, so not a huge deal.
Very tricky.
You'll get to see me clip into the backyard again, so that's cool.
Shout out to Mr. Shasta for the raid. I feel like he's always raiding every single Chibi-Robo in a marathon. I don't know how he does it.
Oh yeah.
He always pulls it off.
He always knows. One day we'll get him to learn bingo with us.
Shasta, you could definitely do bingo.
Bingo's really, really fun. Bingo is so good.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about bingo later. I gotta chill for a second and focus here.
Yeah. As to just like recap why he reset is this game is like this run is like very meticulously routed, in that if something goes wrong, like you just can't follow the run anymore, because if you don't do everything in the day-night timer, then by the time it becomes night, you'll not have time. You'll have to be making up what you can or what you missed in the day, or it won't even be possible to be made up. So it's just like the route doesn't work out if something goes eerie.
Yeah. This is really important too, because there's a bunch of money up here and there's just no time to get this elsewhere in the route without going significantly over estimate. So it's just better to save and reload. I'm actually going to pick up my plug to see if this makes this a little easier for me to set up.
That responsibility save.
There we go. I should have plenty of time.
Yeah, that was quick.
So sliding is very key here. I need to make sure. What can also happen is even if you have a lot of extra IGT, to complete the cycle. If it takes too many times, you'll lose too much battery, and it can make it impossible. So I'm not out of the woods yet until you see me exit, or until you basically see me open the last door. So there's one 300 door and then one 500 door. So a lot of what goes into, routing this game is picking the doors that have the most amount of moolah. Each one is a set amount, and that's predetermined. So this one, it will always be 500 moolah, and that's just really efficient from a sort of time cost analysis type of deal. Yeah, I should have plenty of time here. Two, three, four. Good. So something I did right there is I equipped the Chibi-Copter before I started shimmying on the thing, and when I let go, for whatever reason, if you have the copter equipped, it keeps your invincibility from when you normally let go of a shimmy ledge, and that allows you to get out there and still have enough battery. Otherwise, that strat is so stupidly hard. It is so dumb. But we made it past day 2, so that's really, really good.
Like 5 seconds to spare.
Yeah.
That just goes to show.
If that doesn't give you an idea of how tight that cycle is, I don't know what will. That cycle is also much harder than it used to be, as well, because swapping out the door next to the trash can for the out of balance coin and the 2 armchair 50 coins it actually drains a lot more in-game time, even though it's like faster for speedrunning. So that makes that cycle even harder than it was in previous routes. So I'm gonna buy the charge chip here. The big reason why we're getting this now is it allows us to actually reveal invisible chibi doors. Now, if you get an upgrade later in the game called the Chibi Radar, you can find these locations for yourself casually. However, they're predetermined, so as long as we know where to go, we can open it up basically whenever we want to and get a bunch of money earlier than, well, the game kind of normally expects us to. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna exit the Chibi house. You'll see a cutscene with Dad about this handbook, and then I'm gonna walk back into the house and then back out. The reason why we're doing that is to trigger the cutscene that we mentioned earlier to get the spiders appear. For some reason, they can't both play within the same time of entering and exiting. Ooh, excuse me, hairball. So as a result, we have to enter and leave the Chibi house. It's just a weird quirk of the way the game's programmed. So before anyone yells at me for making a mistake.
I'd never.
But yeah, so this run used to be a lot more consistent because day 3 used to be the first day that we got scrap. These spider enemies that you're going to see drop scrap, which we use for these things called utilibots. They can be made into ladders, bridges, or warps to avoid on backtracking. We're going to be getting, I believe, 4 over the course of the run. One of them isn't necessarily required, but it's a gate for getting the foyer warp, which is extremely, extremely fast. So we're going to be buying the living room ladder, the kitchen ladder, the foyer ladder, and then the foyer warp. So if you're familiar with the game, that's what we're going to be getting for this run. There are several more throughout the game, but they're not required for this category. They are required for all stickers, which is sort of the 100% category of this game. So, fun fact, that yes, no dialogue only appears in this version of the game.
Yeah, that's like jarring to me.
It's so weird.
It's like, why do they ask here? It's like they make one change, or one very, very little changes.
It's one of the only instances where like a part of the game is slower on this version.
Yeah.
It's just a couple extra lines of dialogue.
The terms of agreement. It's like you're about to shoot some spiders.
Are you sure?
Are you sure?
It's like a Clippy pop-up. Would you like some help with that?
Yeah. Oh my god, Telly is basically Clippy.
Yeah, Telly is Clippy. Never thought about it like that. Kind of messed up. Alright, so these spiders are programmed to always drop 490 scrap. Why? I don't know. So one of the interesting...
Really bad,
yeah.
It's bad drop.
Interestingly Funnily enough, though, because of the way they scripted the shooting controls for the Chibi Blaster, if you get one of the spider robots stuck on you, you can actually point it at yourself and shoot it off of you because this port was well made. That's one of the only nice things about the shooting mechanics. So now we're gonna look over here. So now that we've seen that cutscene, spiders can randomly spawn in the game now. They're guaranteed to spawn in one of 3 spots in the kitchen here. There's the one really close to the plug, which is the fastest. There's the middle right here, and then the far back, which is the pattern we got, which is a little unfortunate, but not a huge deal. It's routed around. Oh, come on. Okay, there's 1/100. All right, that wasn't the greatest of luck. However, we are going to be looking in the foyer as well for some scrap. So not that big of a deal. Even though I'm going for a recharge, you're still going to see me slide here a lot. The reason why is that recharges are not a fixed length. They the higher the battery you are going into a recharge, I really should have saved there. Well, we'll see. Well, actually no, I'll save at the bottom of the basement. That doesn't matter at all. Anywho, so oh, that's nice. Probably doesn't matter. Anyway, the more battery that you have going into a recharge, the less time it'll take to fill you up to max. And so as a result, that will save time. For the majority of the run, we're going to be playing on the lowest possible battery upgrade, so that won't matter too much. But in the later game, we will actually be forced to grab a couple of battery upgrades. That's part of the reason. Another part of the reason why you don't see us cleaning up any trash or stains on the floor or anything like that is because the extra battery upgrades that you get from the happy points can actually cause your recharges to be longer, and they'll also invoke extra cutscenes from just unlocking them. So that's also what goes into the routing for a bit. But for a while, we actually had trash routed into the run. Back in like the old days. So right here, I'm going to charge a charge shot while keeping my cursor pointed off camera. That way I don't shoot off into the middle of nowhere. This will be one of the only segments where you don't see me drop the plug after leaving a chibi door, because I'm going to be doing a plug drop with it right here into another plug drop right here. So that's nice that I hit that first try. If you're having trouble with that, it can put you at risk for missing the cycle. So night 2 is pretty tight as well. The beginning of it's not that bad, but once you get into the basement, it gets really scary. So here's the infamous Tears on the Battlefield cutscene.
This cutscene is skipped in all stickers.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
How did you manage? Oh, it's probably a function of the routing. Okay.
Yeah.
I can kind of see it. All right, so I'm looking around here for potential spider spawns. There's a small chance that they don't appear here in the foyer. If they don't, that's kind of bad, but we will make it work. There's also a chance they can spawn in the base. Oh, okay, cool. I did not like my battery, but that was very good luck.
Yeah, that's a good drop.
So if we get super lucky, we might not have to grind for scrap this run, so that's really
enough
sick.
for the warp, right?
No, I need 300 more for the warp.
Oh yeah, 1200.
So here's something kind of interesting, which seems like a really small thing, but completely shattered the way this game was rerouted about 4 months ago. It was discovered that there's this Easter egg here where if you use the toothbrush on Sarge's boots, he gives you 1,000 moolah. We don't know why that's a thing, but we didn't know that existed for like years. And it's completely changed the way that this category has been routed, because that allowed us to essentially cut like 3 or 4 chibi doors out of the route, which is gonna, we haven't managed to get like a world record class run with it yet. But when we do, we expect it to save around a minute to minute 20.
Yeah, that's the largest consolidation of moolah in the game, aside from Pico right here. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
But 1,000 moolah, like the next best you can get is like 500 in like a hidden chibi door.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of those already, and I think we grab all of the 500 chibi doors in the game except for the one in Jenny's room. So
What was really weird about that is there's a Discord, the Chibi-Robo Discord, that it's a combination of like people who speedrun it and casual, or just like people who just like it, Chibi-Robo, and it's mainly just people who like Chibi-Robo. But
Yeah.
like, so there's like a lot of people in there, and nobody knew about it. Nobody knew about that function, and coincidentally, the Japanese runner found it, and a casual player found it like on the same day.
Yeah, so I
know-
believe Flixie found it, or was it Flixie?
I don't know. I don't
Flixie was translating some sort of like promotional material for this game in Japan, or some sort of strategy guide thing from some Japanese magazine that talked about that Easter egg. And Bornin had, I think, forgot to tell us about the Easter egg, but did it in the run. And I think we just missed it when we were verifying Bornin's GameCube JP world record.
Yeah, yeah, because he was like, "Yeah, oh, I did that." Yeah, the game was like over 10 years old and nobody knew about it, and then two people found out about it on the same day, like at the same time.
Roughly, yeah. So strange how it works out.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get a recharge here. This one is mandatory. The basement only has 4 doors. You already saw me grab one of them, but we're actually going to be grabbing all 4 of the doors because there's a 500 and 2 400 doors here, and that's a lot of freaking moolah. So I'm gonna try to grab them all in one battery charge here, but I am going to safety save here because this part is really, really scary. So I'm gonna have to climb back up the stairs and do the trick again where the basement hover. So wish me luck that I get this clip quickly. Luckily it's not as big of a deal as missing the bird clip once, but I shouldn't have too many issues in theory. Oh my gosh, I got it. Okay. My thumb slipped off the joystick.
Oh my, okay, so I have like 2 seconds delayed and I saw that budge. I saw that budge in midair.
It's happened to me way more than I'd like to admit. So what we did there is instead of holding, a lot of times you'll see me just fall off ledges instead of pressing A to get the extra hover in order to save on battery. That's super critical right there for being able to have enough battery and time to get down here.
Yeah.
So there's this one, and then we need to climb back up and grab 2 invisible doors. So I should be fine here. This will be a little sus, but I think we're in the clear. I have to hit the plug drop though rather quickly. I only get like 1 or 2 tries at it. This is gonna be tight. If we miss 1 door, I can back it up later. It's not that big of a deal. I should have plenty of time though. I've got like roughly 40 seconds or so left on this little clock. This is gonna be really, really, really spooky though. Okay. Okay, I got the plug drop.
Nice.
We made it. Okay.
I'm pretty sure you're the one who like first did the plug drop to land on like the very edge of that brick.
Yeah, that's like one of the few things I found in this game. Okay, we made it through night 2. All right, so that's like the last of like the super ultra scary nights in the run. There's a couple of spooky moments coming up later in the run, but that was like the last of the really scary ones. And our scrap's looking good too, so huge weight off my shoulders.
Are any other days going to be as like intensive on the day the timer? I know in the route I last did it was like day 4, I think, was like really.
Day 3 only if we get bad scrap, but
oh wait,
considering
that was
that
because PJs were a thing. Never mind.
yeah, that's really only because of scrap RNG, which we'll talk about soon. TM. But we got super lucky on drops. So spiders can actually drop between 10, 50, and 100 scrap. The little springs are 10. The little washers, I believe, are 50, and then the bolts are 100. So
yeah.
every time you see a bolt, you have my permission to pop off in the chat. So our next major story trigger occurs at night in the bedroom. In order to access the bedroom, oh, wait, hold on a second. I forgot a crucial step here, which is I'm gonna have to go step back into the Chibi house in a little bit here. I might as well just keep going with this. I forgot to buy some things. Oops. Not a big deal. I got so sidetracked that I forgot to make my purchases.
Oh.
So we are going to be buying the living room. Oh, we're gonna buy all 3 of the ladders right now. Normally, if you don't have enough scrap at this point, you can just opt to buy the living room ladder. You would be shocked how many times, even on English, that we've accidentally bought the wrong one. Because the kitchen ladder is the first item in the menu coming up here, so. Yeah, we're gonna be sitting in a little bit of cutscene here. And then you're also gonna be seeing me go out of bounds again to try to grab that 100 coin. That's also just gonna help with rounding to skip a door later on, so. Hex, if you got anything that you wanna plug right now, now would be a good time for a little bit.
Sure, let's read some donations. We have $10 from Darby. Good luck, Jaxler. Let's get Peach on Mario Kart 64. And,
Thanks, Darby.
That's a good pick. I think Peach is, and I could check, but I think it's better if I don't, because I'd have to press like 2 buttons. I think that puts Peach about $20 ahead of Yoshi, so that's pretty close. Now, I don't know if we've actually said this live on stream, but I am actually looking very much forward to that block, which I think has like Mario Kart 64, Wario Land, Luigi U, I think there was, SMB2 Rando, and the fun thing about that block is that it may seem like it's a Mario block, but we actually had to ban Mario for the marathon for bad behavior, so it's the Mario-less block. None of these games you can play as Mario is forbidden from all of these games.
It's a good idea.
So we got like 5 or 6 games in that block, or I think it's like 4 or 5 games in that block, and all of them you play as one of Mario's many friends. We actually had to talk to the SMB2 runner about like, look,
You
do
can't
what
use
you want,
Mario.
don't play as Mario.
We'll
So I'm
turn this
very,
game off.
very excited for that block tomorrow. See, I'm gonna respond to a message in chat. Should have added Mario is missing to that block. See, Mario is Missing is a very boring speed game, and also no one submitted it.
You also gotta have it submitted too.
And we have $20 from
Go ahead.
Zilla as well. Great to see Quality Runners helping such a worthwhile charity. Thank you for all your work. All right. Yeah, sorry, you can continue.
Okay. I'm flattered by the notion of quality runners, but I will take what I can get. Anywho, this is the Teriyaki Blues cutscene. We always have to sit through this. Believe it or not, another runner who you'll see us, we've already talked about him a lot, but Kabazco actually discovered a way to skip this cutscene by, if you exit the Chibi house at the same time as picking up the plug, you'll actually cancel some animations when you leave the Chibi house, and you'll be standing on top of the set of stairs leading into it, and you can use that to hover away from this cutscene, and that saves a couple of minutes on that, runs for that console. However, you have to do it every time you leave the Chibi house from then on, and it's really hard. But luckily, it got patched out of this version, so thank God.
It's another one of like very surprising, like very small edits to this game that make something different.
Yeah,
That's
it's
vastly
weird
different,
because
yeah.
like every version of this game has its like own shenanigans to it, if you will. Like it's kind of hard to describe in the abstract, but there's a lot of. This game is really weird. We used to joke that this was like the unbreakable speed game back in the old days. Like for a while, it used to be just like basement hover and mug skip, and that was essentially it for most of the stuff outside of just routing efficiently. But now there's a whole bunch of weird stuff that results from not only like plug dropping, but also the wall clips and all this other strange things. Drawer glitch. Although we you'll see me use drawer glitch once, but we routed its sort of primary use out of this category. It used to be used in day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
As you see now, Jaxler is counting.
Yep. So I'm counting there just to make sure I don't run out of battery here. I'm gonna be looking. Should I just? I'll look for them to see if they're actually here.
Yeah, might as well. Your battery might be a little risque, but
there we go. So as you can see, I'm having a bit of a hard time hitting these guys. Oh, there's 100. Okay, that's not too bad. So we're going to be continually saving and resetting here in order to get enough scrap to buy the warp. We don't need too much more. And luckily we got a spawn of 4. So they can spawn in patterns of 3, 4, or 5 in a couple of different spots in the room, in any room, with some minor exceptions. So getting a 4 pattern there is pretty good luck. The more spiders you get, the more it's like a protection against bad luck, because the more likely you're able to get good rolls. But I wouldn't be shocked if I got 4 10s in a row. That should be good. Okay, so now that I got everything I need, I should just dip, and we'll be good to go. So that will be all the scrap that we need. So that was actually, it was probably average luck, I would say. Really good luck is if you're able to avoid saving and reloading. That was a strat that we did right there, where after killing the spiders and saving, it tricks the game into respawning all spiders that have been loaded in for that cycle. I don't know why I picked up my plug. Oh yeah, I guess that's something else that we should mention. So technically, you can pick up your plug in this game to run faster, because in theory it's not dragging behind you. However, most of the time you're not going to see us do it unless we're directly about to plug into something like an outlet or a chibi door, because the animation is not only, it's pretty long, but it's even longer on the Wii version for some reason.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it sort of cancels out any of the like time save that you get from movement with it. So
yeah,
it's not a case by case basis that we use it.
I was thinking GameCube, it was like, if you'd have to walk like for longer than like 9.5 seconds, it'd be worth picking it up.
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of worth picking up here, but
yeah,
still felt a little weird. So the whole reason we're coming up here right now is that, like I mentioned at the beginning of the cycle, before realizing that I was making routing errors, is that this next major story event can only start being put, the wheels can only start turning after, I believe it's opening these slats and then visiting mom here at night. So that's exactly what we're doing. So we're coming up here to open up these slats, and then we have a bit of extra time here, which we're going to use to, we're gonna sit through another cutscene just to get it out of the way, and then we're gonna grab 2 chibi doors here because we have the extra time. I might not be able to get both, but we will see. Cool. So that's a little minor cutscene skip right there. You avoid landing on the bell to avoid a little ring-a-ding-ding. This game loves telling you about the obvious things that you just did, such as right here. So we try to avoid those whenever possible.
Next generation run of this, or route of this game would skip like those 2 10-second cutscenes.
Yeah.
That would be the major breakthrough. That's where we are now.
Yeah, so unfortunately I am going to have to recharge here, but it's pretty standard. I think if you're insane, you can avoid a recharge here, but not worth bothering. So it says here that I go for cap drawer then dresser drawer. I'm not sure I want to risk that. I'm looking at my routing notes right now. So Scoop, I think this is new for you since you haven't seen this route yet. But you need
drawer
cap. So like where the baseball cap is, the invisible one here.
The invisible one, yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to reckon whether I have enough time to grab it.
That was something I tried routing a lot. Getting both of these two doors. It's interesting that
yeah.
you have it.
I think what I'll probably do is go for a dresser because I did get an extra 50 coin. So if I get
do you know if it's possible after reloading for another set of spiders?
No, generally not. You have to get really good luck in order to get cat door.
Okay.
I was just trying to mentally judge in my head. I don't think we're gonna play that risk right now. It's really not that big of a deal because it's the dresser drawer is right here, which will get us 300, and then the one below the. Okay, there's 10.
Drawer glitch to the bed. Wait, drawer glitch to something.
Oh no, we're fine. We got the extra 50 coin. That's super lucky.
Ooh.
So that accounts for the extra 100 that we would have gone out of our way for. Yeah, we would have had no time. So this is one of the things you have to consider when you're running this game is you have to keep track of your time and how you're doing on your money routing. What I've been paying attention to is essentially how many extra coins I've been getting from all these drawers I've been opening. And so I can use that to my advantage to ensure that I don't have to grab drawers at a less convenient time. So we're going to use that to get over here. I wonder if I could have avoided that recharge, but it's a marathon, not really worth it. Not worth the risk. All right, so that's pretty much it for day 3. Day 3 used to be really, really stressful because we used to do the majority of a lot of our scrap acquisition here. But thanks to Night 2 Spiders, it's way, way, way more consistent. So we're sitting at like just over 5K, so that looks good. So now moving into the next cycle, at the start here, we're gonna immediately buy the foyer warp. There's 2 warps in the game. There's one for the basement, and there's that lets you get from the bottom of the basement to the top of the stairs. And there's one in the foyer that you can get early on in order to warp up and down between the floors of the foyer at will. And so that's really important. Because it's very battery intensive and time intensive to try to take the ladder up all the time. So it's very important that we get this now. So there we go. And then this night is actually really interesting because it kind of breaks the rules of everything we sort of established so far. Normally, we're sort of just trying to run down the timer as much as possible to get to the next cycle, to get to the next event. But the next event that we're actually going to trigger is kind of interesting. So what we're supposed to do here is visit Mom at night, and she'll tell us to go look for a toy receipt. As part of the plot of the game, I don't want to spoil too much because if you get the chance, I think you should play this casually.
Yeah, luckily it is in Japanese, so you're not being spoiled at all.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah, okay, pick up the book here, I remember now. Routing. Anywho, there's a bit of marital strife between the mom and the dad because the dad is unemployed and spending a lot of money on toys and stuff, which the mom finds kind of frivolous. So as a result, she's going to ask us to find a toy receipt, and the toy receipt will only spawn in after we talk to her at night, which can only be done in the bedroom. So that's what we're going to go do right now. And what's interesting is that once we go get the toy receipt, go back upstairs and deliver it to Mom, it will actually cause the cycle to end instantly. And as a result, that allows us to skip an entire cycle, which saves about 2.5 minutes. But because of that, we got to make sure that we optimize our movement. So this is like one of the few parts of the run where it actually sort of looks more like a traditional speed run because sometimes it won't be worth going for slides unless we absolutely have to, because if you miss a slide, it can slow you down a little bit. So I am making sure though to maintain a certain battery level here, so I'm going to be going for a plug drop. off of this platform outside the slats here. You saw me do this earlier, but it's actually rather precise. On top of that, so obviously I have to hit these as quick as I can to save the most amount of time. I'm also making sure to have a very specific battery threshold because we're going to actually be using the trauma suit for the first time. Because we don't have to worry about running down the timer, we're actually going to be able to use the trauma suit to warp right back to the Chibi house and save a bunch of time in backtracking. But in order to make sure that we can actually use it, we have to make sure we have at least, I believe, 40 battery or so to be 35 batteries so to be able to use it. It takes 30 battery in order to be able to use the costume, but the game won't let you use it unless you're within, if you're within a certain percentage of like dying, if that makes sense. So we're actually going to say yes here. This is something that's just a consequence of the route. I know that sounds super random, but this will get us a upgrade to our battery. It's just the most convenient time to do it now. And it'll also get us a little extra cash, which will help. It sounds minimal, but it helps with the routing a bunch.
Do you do that for the battery or just the moolah?
Both.
Oh, okay.
I need to have the battery upgraded earlier for strats in day 4. Yeah, I don't think you've seen new day 4 yet, so that'll be kind of cool. I think you'll find it really fun. I really like the new day 4 beat route because it kind of, and I'll mention this once we get there, it's sort of the encapsulation of all of, like, the best of this game's optimizations and routing and strategies and stuff like that. I don't want to spoil anything, especially for Scoop because he hasn't seen it yet.
Thanks.
Also, we get a cute little ghost costume because it's our first time using the trauma suit. This is also something that you do in all stickers because this is a mandatory quest costume for certain stickers. And this is also something you would have to buy, but you can just get it for free by using the trauma suit, so that's neato. But for the purposes of this run, it just means that we're going to look adorable for the rest of the segment. I may put it on later for the people. Maybe during like the final boss or something.
Yeah, go out of your way to get the frog suit.
Yeah, just go upstairs and grab the squirter. No biggie.
Screw the route, get the cutest costumes for the run, for the marathon.
Yeah, let's just go another 20 minutes over estimate. we're still on track to go under
They'd
estimate
understand.
right now.
You just like hop.
Hop.
The
Keep
frog
hop.
suit. And that makes up for it.
All right, so we're gonna go up, climb this couch, and grab the receipt here. Now, something we used to do in the old route is we would actually go and grab an invisible chibi door that's located sort of behind where Dad's head is. I don't know how they installed a chibi door on a sofa, but I'm not one to question things like this. It is a video game. So that's something we've actually had on the route for a very long time, but because oh, I picked up the trash. Are you joking? Nice game.
That's like the classic time loss for this section. Because there's like, it's like a minefield of having like 3 different trash items in the way.
Yeah.
You accidentally hit A in the wrong spot. Especially around the door.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we're going to be skipping that invisible door. That's a new feature of the route.
Unfathomable to me.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? But at the same time, like, getting 1,000 moolah from Sarge cut so many doors and completely changed the way that we structured day 3, day 4, and a little bit of night 3 to an extent. It's really insane. So yeah, the big reason why we're delivering the toy receipt now is, in addition to the cutscene being faster than delivering it to her during the daytime when she's cleaning dishes in the kitchen, it also skips straight to the end of the cycle. And so the reason why we need to go through all of this is there's going to be a whole series of story cutscenes that occur once Mom basically locks herself in her room after she gets this toy receipt. And once we finish that sequence of cutscenes, we will unlock the ability to purchase the Chibi Radar, which is a required upgrade for the next major story event. So yeah, we're gonna be sitting through a little bit of cutscene here. I have one more tricky plug drop I gotta hit. We're gonna talk to Mom, give her the toy receipt, and then we'll be good to go. So let me just focus for one quick second while I hit this. Oddly enough, though, on the Wii version, plug drops are actually slightly more punishing if you miss them on the Wii than on GameCube because the plug pickup animation is actually slower on this console. Why? I don't know. It's dumb. On top of that, something we should also mention is we mentioned some of the cutscenes are faster because of the higher frame rate of this console. Or it's not the console, but of this particular build of the game. A lot of the menus are also faster too, which is really kind of fun. It's not by much, but it's neat. So now we're going to be sitting in cutscene for a little bit here. We're going to keep holding on to our money. We're trying to hit a very specific money threshold that I don't want to spoil because it's funny. But we're not going to be spending any of it quite yet. So I know it looks like I'm just hoarding a bunch of money for like a nuclear fallout shelter, like getting a bunch of food, but like that's not what this is coming down to. It's very specific for a routing strat that we're going to be doing later on in the run. So I guess this Hex, if you got any more things you'd like to plug, now would be a good time.
I've always got more things I'd like to plug. First off, I just want to quickly comment that we've reached pretty decently over $200 from Fushimania. So remember that brings our total like up to like 3240 or something like that. I can't do that. It's very late. But we got some. So we got some more than we want than it looks like, but we still want to keep pushing that envelope. And what better way to do that than to talk about some upcoming bid wars? In the next bid war, we can choose the costume for our very own Jaxler's Truth or Skull SpongeBob run. And we've got 3 choices here. We've got the Krusty Krab uniform, the burglar outfit, and the mermaid outfit. Now, the burglar outfit and the mermaid outfit are $30 behind the Krusty Krab outfit, which is at 40, which means that it's really anyone's game here. And like, do you really not want to see the Mermaid Man outfit? It's Mermaid Man. Like, come on. Come on.
The burglar outfit is also the one from that very famous Put It In scene from the show, so
we're in agreement that, like, we've got to get this shifted off the Krusty Krab uniform.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, come on.
I gotta throw it in there for the bid war because it's, like, one of the costume options, and I'd get yelled at if I didn't. But I'm just saying, you can do better.
You can do better. Come on. It's not that much. It's not that far ahead. You can get above this. I believe in you. Let's do let's do a little more. And if you're not big into bid wars, if you'd rather go for like an incentive, if you want to get something, I get you. How about The Last Guardian? You remember that game by the team behind Shadow of the Colossus? You know what that do you know what that would be a shame is if we just skipped all the cutscenes for that. Well, fortunately, we're more than halfway to seeing all the cutscenes for The Last Guardian. And like, come on, if you get to watch the cutscenes, you get to experience the story. And we're more than halfway there, so like, don't you want to see that before? Don't you want to just like push that to the top?
I gotta say, no, you say. Wait, who's saying? Who's talking?
I was just gonna ask if you wanted to go back to commentary now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just for a little bit. Go ahead, Scoot.
I was gonna add on what he said about the bid war. I gotta say, I find it incredibly ironic. I didn't know about that bid war for between 3 different costumes. Jaxler. Jaxler. Hello.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh.
Oh, are you yelling at me at not putting a costume bid war up for this game?
No, it's just like I know that you wouldn't in this category, but I just thought it was very funny because
maybe we'll do that next time as a costume bid war during the final boss. You know what we could do since it's a little too late? What we'll do is once we get to the final boss, I'm actually looking at chat right now, and I'll pull up a list of the costumes that we'll have unlocked by the time we get there.
I was actually thinking of the 3 different pajamas.
Oh, well, we don't get the pajamas anymore.
I know, but like that parallel.
So sad.
That's like a huge parallel.
I know. All right, so we're going through some cutscene here in order to sort of advance this plot stuff like we mentioned before. And then once we go through all of this jazz, that's when we'll be doing kind of the fun new stuff that got incorporated into the day 4 route. So we have to go deliver this letter, I guess. But what we're gonna do to save a bunch of time, normally if we try to climb up through the slats the normal way, Mom will yell at us or like basically put us up there and it's a slow cutscene. But the loading zone for exiting normally is always there. So you can actually use that to skip having to interact with Mom there. So what we're gonna do right here is give this to Dad, and then we're gonna see another little bit of cutscene here. And then, yeah, so we're gonna be chilling here for about a minute. So, yeah, not too much to talk about right now. Again, we've got that bid war coming up for Truth or Square. The bid war will not end. I'm the one who's running it. So this is how I know this information. But the bid war will actually only close after a couple of levels into the game. So you'll still have time after the end of this run if you want to contribute towards that. On top of that, I just wanted to thank everyone who so far who's donated during my run. I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me. And I'm glad. It seems like you all are enjoying the run right now, so that's all I'm setting up for. So thank you all for being awesome. Yeah. Oh, I guess we should explain the story. So this is basically Mom's, after a list of demands saying that if things don't pick up, she's gonna stay in there and get a divorce. Chibi-Robo games are kind of known for having these really like surprisingly dark themes to them, which is kind of interesting.
It's very unique storytelling in terms of video games.
Yeah. Skip, the company that made Chibi-Robo, as well as a couple other games like Captain Rainbow and GIF-PUWP, which those two unfortunately did not get localized in the West. Hold on, I'm gonna safety save for this part just in case.
Shout out to responsibility.
Oh yeah. Shouts to when I didn't safety save during Valuethon and then through the run.
No, we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about. Oh, okay. We don't talk about
that. That's the first time it has been mentioned since. So.
That faithful day.
Yeah.
So this segment isn't like super crazy hard. I just really enjoy doing this part as a speedrunner. What I'm gonna do is turn around and then do a kind of tight hover to get over here. I think that's the way you're supposed to do that casually. But this might interest you, Scoot. We're actually gonna go all the way up here and grab the 500 door that's hidden all the way up here.
That does interest me.
Yeah, so we've actually the routing for this session has actually changed quite a bit because we in the GameCube version of the game, you used to have to get the pajamas so that you could pass time to later event sequences. But because we're on the Wii version, we actually don't have to do that. I won't spoil how we're gonna skip that just yet. But as a result of that old route, we used to spend a lot of time in this cycle getting doors inside the master bedroom. But instead, because that would be really slow, we're gonna get a bunch here in the foyer. So very scary plug drop right there. You have very little room to run off and grab that. So we're gonna go over here and grab one of 2 invisible doors in this room. So this is kind of something interesting. This is like one of the only rooms in the game that has 2 invisible chibi doors. I think it might actually be the only one.
Yeah, it is the only one.
So that's kind of neato.
Biggest actually, yeah, this probably is the biggest room, isn't it?
Yeah, by a long stretch. Bedroom's pretty big too.
Bedroom, backyard again.
Backyard. Well, backyard's deceptive. Oh yeah, kitchen. Yeah, kitchen.
Backyard's just sort of empty, I guess.
All of the rooms are pretty big.
Yeah.
So now this is cool. We used to drop down and get two 200 doors, but I actually realized when rerouting this category that it's just faster to grab this invisible 400 door over here. You still get the same amount of moolah, but you stall the clock for less amount of time. So we're gonna go over here, and by using that sort of, I don't know what that sort of hanging piece of gardening furniture is, but you can use that to hover over here, and that actually skips having to use the chibi ladder to get up here, and we actually managed to get here all in one recharge, so that's actually really, really sick. That's a bit harder than it looks. If you missed that plug drop I did at the very top of the room too many times, generally speaking, you have to go grab an extra charge, which is really, really slow, because you basically have to go you either have to go really far into Jenny's room, or you have to go all the way around back to the entrance to the master bedroom to grab a fresh battery. All right, so we made it through day 4. That's pretty heckin' sick. So, oh, also, you're gonna notice that our moolah count is at a rather nice number. What we're gonna be doing for money is actually kind of interesting because, like I mentioned, we need 10,000 moolah in order to charge the Giga battery. And on top of that, we also don't have enough moolah for the other upgrades that we're gonna be needing later. So we're gonna be doing something kind of interesting. I'm a little low on moolah though. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll grab the out of bounds 100 coin on the way. Okay. So, depending on what you get from drawers, it can kind of... Yeah, it's probably just faster to get that out of bounds 100 coin and then go for 7k. Yeah, okay. I think that's what we'll do. That'll save a little time in menuing as well.
Is there like an exact you want to be on? I'm not sure if like this route would benefit.
You want to be at like 6,950, I believe.
Hey.
Because if you only have the minimum of 6,900, you'll be 50 short for an upgrade. I believe, yeah. So I'm gonna actually buy the 15 timer now. Because we are actually, at this point, no longer concerned about the in-game time. So we're gonna be basically doing the rest of this run on a 15-minute timer cycle. Obviously, there's way more than 15 minutes left on the run, but...
Like Dragon Ball.
We're gonna... Yeah. But now we're not really worried about the in-game timer anymore, and this is where the route really starts to differ from categories where you have to get the dog bone. We'll explain what that means later, but I'm gonna go out of bounds here real quick.
Dog bone is a bone dog eats.
That is true, but in the context of the game, wait. Oh, I forgot to buy a radar. Oh, I don't buy radar yet. That's right. I got super spooked for a second. I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to be beating the aliens down here. Oh, a second. Like, why am I picking up my plug? But no, picking up the plug is actually fast here. So this is where the traditional speedrunning movement becomes a bit more important now. I'm not super worried about my battery right now, because we're going to be doing a mini game here, essentially, and I'm going to be saving anyway because you'll see why. All I'll say is this is where we need to prep our bless emotes. So
Your
now,
blessed
if I were...
emotes and your Jaxler dabs.
Yeah, if you have Jaxler dab, this would be a good time to start spamming it. But normally, if this were a world record attempt, I would just be going straight into this next minigame type of deal. But because this is a marathon, I need to ensure that I safety save. Otherwise, I literally cannot continue the run. Well, actually, because I've been saving prior, I could, but I would not finish on time. There would just be no point. All right, so this is Pico. Now you saw Pico earlier in the run, where during a cutscene where Plankbeer was actually playing the same minigame as we are about to right now. So what's going to happen is as follows. This is a game where you bet a certain amount of moolah, and with that moolah, it's a double or nothing type of game. So you have to determine It's kind of weird, but you have to basically guess which one of Pico's 2 eyes is going to open. I always go for no. I haven't missed on no in a long time. Normally I ask chat, hey, what should we pick? What should we vote for? But I do not trust. I just have a gut feeling that it's going to be no tonight. And it's weird. I almost always like go no first try, and I very rarely missed it. So I wonder if
always
it's like,
go yes. And
always go yes.
I feel like it's yes more often than not.
Yeah.
But so this is where the strife begins.
Yeah, this is where we get super spooked. Essentially, if we vote yes, we're saying that this eye on the left will open. If we're saying no, we're voting that this eye on the right will open. So I'm gonna vote no. And if we win, we double our money. And if we lose, all of the money that we bet gets converted to happy points. And we're broke. So this eye, yeah, you're happy, but you're also very unhappy. So this eye that I'm pointing the cursor on is the one we want. So let's see. Oh, never lucky. All right, that's fine. We'll keep going.
So
The
the run
one
is
time,
over.
yeah, the run is dead.
If this was an actual like attempt, the run would be over.
Yeah, it's really it can be really frustrating to grind this game. That's part of the reason why bingo has become so popular, is because of Pico just killing runs indiscriminately. All right, you know what? This time I'll let chat vote. If you want to vote yes, post a circle in the chat. If you want to vote no, post an X in the chat. All right?
What was it? Or it could also be like a pirate face or a winky face, because they have the opposite eyes. Closed.
There's a lot of closed right now.
Ooh,
I see like 9 votes for closed.
I'm
Couple
balancing.
O's. There's a couple of you're trying to Thanos this vote. I think X still wins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. XO.
XO.
That doesn't count.
Post 1.
All right,
People
it looks
still do
like
that.
we're voting no again. All right, I'm gonna go for no again because that's what the chat appears to be voting for the most. Let's see if it happens. Come on, baby. Got a little extra text box too that happens there sometimes. So again, because we voted no, we're betting on this eye. Cross your fingers, dot your eyes. Come on, please. Yes! Okay, second try. Cool. I would have been so mad. Good job, chat!
Good job, good job.
So now you're gonna see we have a lot of money now. So even though we throw it to the roll of the dice there, okay, make sure I say no. Good. If you say yes there, you have to gamble again. But I guess you could just gamble like 100 and not. Well, I would still lose a boatload of time. So I'm actually going to go over here and then use the trauma suit. You want to step away from the characters over there because for whatever reason, every character has like a sort of like weird pausing thing that happens where they'll like sometimes, depending on the character, react to certain poses happening.
Yeah.
So you want to step away to save some time.
It's really odd, like, you know, someone in the public eye just watches you fall over and they actually notice.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure they don't notice.
Yeah, so we're through like the last, like, I'm gonna save here because if something catastrophic happens, I do not want to have to roll the dice with Pico again. I know I'm saving a lot and it's costing me a bunch of time, but
Wait, did you even have a save for when, if you
Yeah.
took too long on Pico?
oh no, you don't have to worry about Pico with time
I don't
because we
know.
bought the 15 timer.
No. If you failed Pico enough, did you have a backup save for like when it was succeeded?
No, I did not.
Oh my
I
god!
forgot.
Because I saw your two other saves. What, it was 30 minutes and 2 hours. I'm like, that doesn't look like this time.
Yeah, this isn't good.
So okay.
Yeah, that there goes all of my pats on the back for being responsible. I'll just go with the excuse I didn't have enough time to set it up.
He
But
created
usually you get it with
responsibility for trust in the chat.
yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, no, I trusted myself on the first roll, and I got bodied.
never mind. Sorry, chat.
It's all good. But yeah, it's not a big deal. My estimate, it basically assumes that we'll get Pico within 3 tries anyway, and also has some extra time for mishaps like in day 2. So we may run a little over estimate, but we should be fine. It's hard to pick an estimate for this run because it just kind of varies sometimes. Sometimes the game just owns you really bad.
Yeah.
Or like in the case of the hotfix run, I feel the last plug drop and die and lose 5 minutes. Well, I guess we also don't talk about that. Anywho, so we're charging the Giga battery now. This is just the most convenient time to do it because we have the money. We're also going to be doing another Death Abuse later, and if you die, you lose a percentage of your money. I believe it's like 20% of however much moolah you have on hand. So we want to fill this up now. Additionally, you can only do 9K at most at a time. So I did 9K first, and then I'm doing 1K. It skips a line of dialogue for some reason. It is also impossible to not pick up your plug trying to hit this a second time. It's not my fault. Here we go. And so you might be wondering what this extra bit of moolah is, because we've turned in the 10K for the battery. We just bought the Chibi radar, which we'll explain what that does in a little bit. We have this extra like 2100 left. That is for an upgrade called the Alien Ear Chip. Yeah, now we're getting into the point of kind of plot spoilers that are a little complicated. So if you have seen this game up to this point and are like, I have to play this game, and you're the type of person who wants to avoid any and all spoilers for plot type stuff, now would be probably the time you would want to dip out. Although, if you can, leave the Power Up with Pride stream on in the background and make sure you keep it unmuted, so that way you can count it as a viewer and get the channel higher up on the ranks of Twitch streams. Oh yeah, spoilers, by the way, the butler did it.
Who do you say is the butler of this game?
I mean, it's kind of Chibi, right?
Oh yeah.
Or
It
maybe
is.
it's Chibi-Robo. Alright, here's the only time in the run we're intentionally going to pick up trash. What we're doing here is discovering a crop circle, essentially. Now, the way you're normally intended to understand how to do this puzzle is you go into Jenny's room, and Jenny will be basically being brainwashed by this weird alien radio sequence on the TV, and it'll tell you to go to the backyard at night with the radar and do this. So obviously though, there's actually nothing main story related that goes on in Jenny's room, so we actually skip it outright. And that's kind of something that also goes into play with Money Round and 2, is when we're deciding what doors that we want to purchase on, or not purchase, what doors we want to enter on what day, we want to make sure that we go through as few loading screens as possible. So, for example, the reason on day 4 that I don't go back into the bedroom and grab some doors there, hairball, excuse me, is because, well, first of all, there's not enough money in there for our route, but also on top of that, we don't have to go back through the bedroom again. And that loading screens can actually cost you like 10 seconds per if you have to take extra ones. That's also part of the reason why having to save and reload a bunch for scrap can lose you time on PB. So this game can be a little brutal to grind sometimes, but this game, with just how the route unfolds, is just so cool to me. Like that's like one of the big reasons I keep coming back to this game, in terms of speedrunning year after year is just because there's just no other speedrun like this. And Scoop, I know you could probably attest to this too.
Yeah, I can definitely vouch for it. It's just like you have like such a wide array of options in the way the route can like unfold, and just having the most updated version of that and playing that out is satisfying in and of itself.
Yeah, and on top of that, like even completing runs of the most optimized route is an achievement in and of itself. You know, we do like really enjoy routing and improving RTA runs for this game, but we don't take it like as the leaderboard rankings as Omega seriously as you would in most other speed games. And the big reason why is it faster than Trauma Warp here? I think it is. No, it's not.
Oh yeah, because yeah, it is. It is.
It is? Okay, cool. Oh yeah, because
it's
I have
something I wouldn't think it would be, because you'd normally be using the timer now in the run I would use. Like you'd still be using the in-game timer, but you do have to leave the Chibi house and then go back in for the alien ear.
Oh right. Well, yeah. Okay, then it's slower. Okay. We're routing, so I'm gonna have to recharge. That shouldn't really be that big of a deal at all.
No,
so what we have to do is we had to summon the aliens so that we could realize that we do not speak alien. Well, not that we don't speak alien, it's just that aliens are so... Wait, did you see Telly over there?
Why is he dizzy? Why is he dizzy?
What the heck? That's never happened before.
Never happened before.
All right, so now it's going to activate a cutscene where we can get an alien ear chip, which will allow us to understand the very soft alien speech, and that will allow us to progress forward in the game.
Yeah, they're just speaking in too small of font.
They're speaking up, gamer.
Surely.
So let's go ahead and buy that. Yeah, and the thing that makes this route so satisfying is you get just barely the amount of money that you need to beat the game.
Yeah, I appreciate how close that moolah count is.
Almost zero.
Yeah, really close.
So yeah, unfortunately I am going to have to take an extra recharge here because I do not have the ability to die on command anymore because I forgot which option was faster. So that's not a huge time loss. It's like maybe 15 seconds at most. But we're gonna need to be able to use the trauma suit here in a bit, so a little annoying, but not that big of a deal.
Can you put the pointer on Telly and spin him when you're saving?
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sick. I got the pull grab to the loading zone.
Ooh. That's such an odd
framed
animation.
It looks so weird. It does some other really funky things, like your plug cord will just like stretch to very ludicrous lengths. So now we're going to be summoning the aliens again. So what we're going to be doing here is, so this is plot related. So again, this is like big Omega spoilers now. So the sort of gist of some of the deeper story stuff is that Giga-Robo was something sort of similar to Chibi-Robo in that he was sort of like a assistant robot for the family. And in the game's past events, essentially, Giga-Robo found the aliens crash landing into our world, I guess, and he saved them. And so the aliens granted him a wish, or Giga-Robo a wish, right? And
2 wishes.
2 wishes. But they only had enough wish orbs for one of them. The first wish was to bring all the toys to life. And then the second wish, which you'll see towards the end of the game, was to give him infinite batteries so that he could stop making the Sandersons bankrupt. That's why he's currently defunct in the basement right now, is because he was taking too much battery. So the aliens are back now after getting another wish orb, essentially, to fulfill their end of the bargain. And so we're going to take them over to Chibi-Robo down in the basement. Now, the reason why it's very important that we use the trauma suit right there. And the reason why is that there is a cutscene that plays when you try to leave the backyard with the aliens in tow, where Drake tries to enact justice on them, essentially, because he thinks they're dangerous. Which, you know, I kind of get it, because they're aliens.
Kind of a hot topic.
What?
Don't worry about it.
Okay. Interesting. Anywho, so doing that trauma suit warp allows us to skip past Drake, and that's like a 3-minute cutscene. So that's one of the other big reasons that it's really important for us to have the trauma suit at all, is it lets us save a bunch of time, like a lot of heckin' time. I guess I should be sliding a little bit. I'm not super concerned about my battery here because, well, you'll see why. Once we deliver these absolute friends here over to Chibi-Robo and do some cutscene stuff, we're gonna start to do some really cool things. I don't want to spoil them yet, but we've basically got a good amount of time here for plugs up until after the cutscene with Chibi-Robo and the aliens end. So, Hex, I'll leave it off to you for that if you want.
Sure. Let's start with the donation. We have $60 from Silent Tremor. Jaxler Dab. How are Bob and Bob and Bob and Bob doing?
Thank you so much, Tremor. Tremor is one of my mods, and we have a habit of calling my ditto plushies that sit on the chair behind me when I stream Bob. It used to just be the ditto furret, but now it's kind of become all of them. So just to explain that joke.
I'm sorry, Jaxler. You heard the question, you explained the question, and then you didn't even attempt to answer the question.
Yeah, I should. They're doing really good. They're actually chilling right behind me while I'm doing the run. They're watching.
Thank you.
But they don't have to watch the restream because they're cool and they're my friends.
Jeez.
They're my only friends. No, just kidding.
We're saying that in the call with somebody watching the restream to try to keep up with them.
Oh, you're right. Well, no, I meant the restream in terms of like the Power Up with Pride restream, like the actual Twitch channel Power Up with Pride. But yeah, oh yeah, this is Plankbeard, by the way. He is, like, he's a great character in the game. But something this game does is actually a really cool artistic touch, is they'll use attributes of the text on screen to characterize the individual characters. So characters that talk really fast have their characters scroll across the screen faster. And sometimes there will be additional effects on the text depending on their emotions. So if they're crying, the text will like wobble as if they're struggling to get the characters out. It'll be very loud if it's like in all caps, for example. But because of Plankbeard's character, he talks very, very slow. So yeah, he's even he takes up so much time in all stickers, it's ridiculous. I'm sure you can attest to that, Scoot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of side quests involving him. With some pirates and shenanigans. There used to be a bingo objective where we delivered a thing to him, and then we had to take it out of the format because the cutscenes were so long. Back in the old days of delivering the pirate ship to the captain. So we're actually going back up the stairs here, and we're going to go into the foyer. And now we're going to actually go grab the leg. So this is going to be kind of interesting if you've ever played this game casually, because to get the leg casually is a bit of a lengthy process. Excuse me. What you have to do casually is if you, and you'll speaking us go there later for reasons that we'll explain. Casually, what you have to do is visit the aliens in their UFO, go back in time and put a dog bone in a bowl with a much younger version of Tao. That gets him out of the way of a suitcase in the past, which allows you to read the passcode on that suitcase. And then once you've seen that cutscene, or that dialogue box for that passcode, it will allow you to open this suitcase underneath the bed in the master bedroom and get the leg. However, with the advent of all the wall clipping, we realized that you could just clip into the suitcase once you pull it out and just grab it. However, there was an issue because at the time it was that Glitch PhD discovered it. It always crashes on GameCube after a certain point into the cutscene. So as a result, we thought, okay, this is just never going to happen. Turns out one day that Kobe decided to mess with Leg early on Wii, and it doesn't actually crash. So as a result, we are able to skip getting the bone and save around 5 minutes. So that's the big reason why we use this version. Now, to do the trick is a little bit complicated, so I'm going to focus here. Skip, if you want to try to explain it, feel free.
I actually am unfamiliar with this setup. You can normally clip into this, but it's like very difficult to. So he has his own little lineup that he does.
All right, cool. We got a first try. I safety saved there because if I screw that up, it makes it so that I can't do that easier strat.
Yeah.
So I did what's called the drawer glitch there, and it's a bit of a misnomer because Skip, you were the one who found it, right? You initially found it on like drawers.
Yeah,
so
namely found on drawers.
Yeah.
Actually, initially called it Infinite Drawer Glitch, a play on for Green at Times Infinite Sword Glitch. You could just pull out drawers to your freedom of the extent instead of just on the rails it is set on.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about what you did with there.
Yeah, so the way that you actually set up that glitch is that you have the camera in front of Chibi-Robo, and then you hit, I'm using as a reference, down on the D-pad to reset the camera behind Chibi-Robo, and then start pulling the drawer down on the stick. And so what that does is the game, if you do that with the correct timing, the game incorrectly assumes that you had the original camera angle before the camera change, and the game will pull the drawer in relationship to the angle of the camera that it expects you to have. So we can actually use that with as a result of that weird physics bug, to pull it off the rails. And when you do that, if you pull it a certain distance and just let it chill, it will actually snap back into its place on the rails. And if you put Chibi-Robo in the way of the suitcase, when that snap occurs, it'll clip you right inside and let you grab the leg from inside. So that was actually really clean. So we're actually going right now to the past in order to go grab a mandatory quest item. It's a circuit schematic to upgrade our Chibi Blaster, which is required to defeat enemies in the game. Well, it's not like, I guess not, but like you need to have it so that the story can progress. And so we get to see our friends, the aliens, again. So yeah. The reason why we waited so long to get the leg is because once you get the leg, it puts the game in a really kind of awkward state that basically only lets you access the backyard and the living room. At that point, if you try to access the foyer or the kitchen, and you don't like have the Chibi radar yet, you basically are soft locked. Because every time you try to enter one of those loading zones, it'll basically infinitely lock until you do a really dumb strat to try to go through a different loading zone. It's complicated.
It's a very bittersweet discovery in that if like the loading zones were there as they normally would be, you wouldn't even, like, this past like hour of the run wouldn't have existed.
Yeah. Well, we would still have to charge up the battery. But it would, there's so many little things that if we could find would just destroy this game's run wide open. Yeah. And I don't know if Kobe has mentioned in the chat, I think he had to go take care of things tonight. He was going to be on commentary tonight, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. But one of the things that would break this game wide open would be some sort of vertical proxy or way to gain height on demand or by doing some kind of bug. And if we could do that to gain enough height, we could actually get up the foyer stairs without needing a ladder, which would completely skip all the stuff to get scrap and all that jazz. So we would still probably get some at some point because it would be faster to use the foyer warp, I think. But if something like that ever gets discovered, I'll probably be in my 40s.
Honestly, it's a kind of interesting how like the limits of this game have been pushed, although you are still bound to not being able to jump or gain height unless you're in the intended way.
Yeah.
Like we can
Alright,
even
so-
teleport, but we
Yeah. You can like do really weird things that aren't necessarily done in speedruns. There's a lot of it's kind of sad too because like all stickers and bingo shows off a lot of really cool glitches that because they can solve the timer for extended periods aren't really seen. So one example that you see, I believe it's used once in all stickers, but it's used very frequently in bingo, is what's called the CRM glitch or Chibi-Robo mode. Gosh dang it. I was trying to master the dialogue too fast. But essentially, it's a really cool glitch because all of the chibi doors in a given room point to a location out of bounds. They basically warp into a location out of bounds, spawn a registered amount of moolah, and then leave. And so, what's really cool is if you clip out of that, you can travel from the same place out of bounds every time. And when you're inside of a chibi door, time and your battery are completely stopped. So what you can do is, oh my gosh, I'm so bad. What you can do is you can actually go and you can go hit a loading zone and it will carry that state into whatever room you just entered. Hold on a second here. This is a bit of a puzzle I have to solve here. Oh, I was late.
red up red and blue up with blue, green with
This
green.
is so hard.
It's like yeah, it's deceivingly difficult.
There we go.
This has no business being as difficult as it is. It's like
It's the
"Oh,
ultimate link.
I must solve this this mastermind puzzle of matching two colors.
Yeah, once you get to this point, though, you can kind of just mash.
Yeah, as long as you get the first one, you can match the first one.
Here we go. Someone mentioned in the chat, but yeah, all the aliens in this game are named after celestial bodies. I'm actually really impressed that you remembered all the names.
Yeah,
That's really sick.
yeah. They're hardly ever mentioned too. So
They're so good, though.
yeah,
They're just the best. Yeah, the reason why they're kind of incapacitated right now is they ate too much human fast food.
yeah.
So we had to open up their bed, and then we're basically breaking and entering right now to use their time machine. It's kind
Oh,
of
yeah,
messed
they're
up.
like they're against this whole idea.
Because
But,
they just don't want us to misuse their power, which, you know, that's actually kind of smart. But we're gonna go. We're gonna go save a broken marriage to the power of corporate consumerism, and in order to do that, we have to steal a time machine or two. It's kind of like one of the weird themes of this run is like you make the family happier with like money related things, but you also just like repair their relationships in subtle ways. I think it's a lot cool. Like it's a lot better explored in the sequel to this game that only got released in Japan on the DS called Happy Rishi Clean Sweep. Well, no, it's we localize it kind of as Clean Sweep, or like Happy Rich Sweep or something like that. there is actually a English patch for that game, and we'll mention the Discord at the end of the run, but a lot of people on our Discord would be more than willing to help you get that patch set up. They're not going to tell you where to find the actual game files because that's not legal. But there's a group of people that actually created a English translation patch for that game, and it is one of the greatest games I have ever played. I don't want to spoil anything because the story is actually like really, really good and worth experiencing blind. I'll just leave it at that. So the whole reason we come out here into the past, and we obviously know it's the past because everything's in sepia. We're here to grab this circuit schematic. I don't know if you're supposed to be able to grab it through this box, but you can.
Not.
Yeah.
I was like floated down onto it.
And then the
even
volume
like
warning.
the first runs I did, I floated onto it.
Yeah. So this is the last of the intentional death warps. The game actually prevents you from using poses while time traveling. Apparently dabbing, for example, could cause a time rift, so I can kind of see it. But we're actually dying there on purpose, so we don't have to go through all of a million bajillion different cutscenes just to get back here. So we may have just caused a time paradox, but it's not too crazy. This will put us back conveniently in the living room so that we can give Dad the circuit schematic to be able to sort of progress towards end game here. So we're getting really close to the end of the run here, so yeah, I hope you've all enjoyed so far. Unfortunately, I love the cutscenes right before the ending fights. But unfortunately, because they're in English, or not in English, you can't really read what's going on if you're a native English speaker like myself. So that's slightly unfortunate, but luckily what that means is that we will have more than plenty of time to plug things in just a second. Yeah, I think I already mentioned this, but we need to make sure that we, yeah, okay, we did already mention the radar thing. I'm just double checking. And that trying to leave here soft locks. There's also another way that you can soft lock in this room, which is kind of funny. Well, actually, no, in this version, it's a crash. So let me explain what I'm talking about. Essentially, where that basket is and where all that green tile is, that's like a fireplace, right? And behind that fireplace, there is a loading zone that is to some unused area of the game that the developers like scrapped during the process of creating this game. On GameCube discs, you can actually enter that load zone to enter a new area. And that'll take you to this weird void dimension where, depending on the version of the game, it might either be just complete darkness or there might be some weird web stuff in there. But on this version of the game, it just crashes. Which is weird because Leg Early doesn't crash on this game, but does on GameCube. And that's why we don't understand this game. So you have to talk to Dad twice here to be able to get him the slip of paper. That's basically the cutscene where we realize that Mom threw out the circuit schematic, but it turns out if you time travel, you don't have to worry about that. Dangerous. All right, so what's going to happen here is it's actually sort of a auto-scrollery sequence where we have to fend off these super spiders. So like they're these enlarged spiders. Basically, the plot of this game is that the dad of the game is unemployed because he left his job. He quit because he thought the company he worked for, who made the spiders, were doing unethical things by making them evil. So he left of his own accord, and that's sort of like the big plot twist here at the end of the game. And so what he's going to do is go upstairs to grab his soldering iron so he can upgrade the blaster. And while we do that, we're intended to basically distract these robots for about like 20 to 30 seconds or so. And normally it can be a little bit spooky, but we also have the ability to wall clip. So I'm gonna try to wall clip out of the arena. And on top of that, those spiders won't like descend from the ceiling unless you get close enough. So if you're smart, you can only have like one of them trying to mess with you. Nice, second try. So you can actually kind of just chill and go wherever you want to here. You can actually go into the basement, and I think the kitchen too. But if you re-enter, it will just cause this timer to restart. So there's no point. I don't know. Maybe that can be useful one day for all stickers, Scoop. Maybe you can talk to Telly on the little thing here while you're waiting.
I remember that sort of messes with the timer as well.
Oh, it does.
But and it's because it's nighttime. You
Yeah.
have to do it during the day.
Shoot. Yeah. I guess
There's a lot of, I don't know. Maybe there's something you can do. Maybe there's like some like really deep like storage thing you can do with it that
deep storage. We've turned into a tech company around this game.
Games, speedruns are really weird with memory now. So
yeah, who knows?
I wish I could figure stuff like that. Figure out stuff like that.
And right there was the Discord icon for our server for the longest time. Now it is a rainbow dancing Chibi-Robo for Pride Month.
Good animation.
Very, very awesome. So yeah, during this cutscene is one of my favorites, just because I mean, look at these soldering iron masks.
They're very well suited.
So good. So this is a great cutscene, but unfortunately I can't really explain the humor of it. So I guess we'll talk about the rest of the run now. So coming up here is sort of like the final major sequence that we have to do. Basically, we got the leg, but it got picked up by the mother of all spiders, or the Giga Spider. Whatever, it's Giga Spider, right?
Mid. M-I-D.
Mid Spider?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about like the final boss one.
Oh. The Queen?
Oh, Queen, that's it. Okay, I was blanking on the word. But essentially, we're going to be going into an actually pretty tough sequence of 5 of the mid spiders, where normally they take multiple hits to kill, but we're gonna try to lure them all into charge into charge shots, which should kill each one instantly. But I have to make sure to lure them one at a time so I don't get ganged up on. So I'm gonna be kind of quiet for this part. There's some weird manip stuff that I have to do that's kind of not obvious. Dangerous. I agree. This is like one of the easiest places to lose time too, just because it's really hard to optimize this section. I also have to use the pointer controls here to make sure I land a hit, which is annoying. Alright, here we go.
That was pretty good.
So I'm going to be holding A to buffer a charge input. And so there's 5 on each side of the room. Oh, I missed. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, he'll be walking in like certain locations just to trigger the spiders looking at him because after a short amount of time they have like invulnerability, so he's just waiting it out by triggering them, then shooting another one, then going back to the original one because its invulnerability wears out, so then he could attack it. It's yeah, like he said, it's real subtle of how you have to.
Yeah, this is the hard part.
Yeah.
This is the really scary part. This guy, go to the left to bait him into a charge, and I instantly kill him. Lure this guy, then second after a delay, and third after a delay. Wow, 89 battery, that's really good.
That's oh my god, that was perfect.
That was so good.
And you got to pick up the plug before the cutscene started.
That is, I can't emphasize how hard that is. So there's a couple of things going on there that makes that really scary. First of all, as soon as you enter that second arena, there's a weird bug where your blaster automatically fires. So I have to be ready and aiming at the spider and angle at a certain distance to hit the first one. On top of that, I also manip the spider into charging at a very specific angle so that it cancels his attack, so that I don't take a hit. The big thing you have to be careful of is if you take one hit there, the game will force you to recharge before you can do this fight. And that like wastes like a minute. It's really slow.
For reference, you need a certain percentage battery to enter this door. And with his maximum battery, the minimum you can have is 82 battery to exit without being forced to charge before you enter. He had 89, so and all the attacks do 10 or like 10, right? So it was just a dance of being like doing the very correct small movement just to manage fighting them without taking any damage.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why we used to complete the run on the 100 battery. And I think you still would on the GameCube release. For routing reasons, I get the when I end up getting the 120 battery. But that's one of the reasons again why you want to minimize battery is and that's also what makes the minimal battery routes hard is you have a very small threshold. All right, this is the Queen Spider fight, so. This is like a circle, like the boss is going to try to suck me in, and I have to stay very close to outside its range. Normally, most casual players get, and some beginner runners will get what's called the range chip to get a further range on your blaster shot, but because of not having that upgrade, I have to walk this very delicate balance between being in range to hit the boss here, but being far enough away to not get sucked in and lose a bunch of time.
Also, the hitbox of the actual grab is like 3 times bigger than what it actually appears to be.
Yeah.
It's like the most misleading hitbox I've ever seen in any video game, and that's saying something. And also, it's just like a circle around the entire boss, so if you try going behind it, you would still get hit from the same distance if you were in front of it. It's absurd.
Oh my gosh, I got the fast cycle too. Nice. And that hit was intentional. Now, the second phase of this fight require as if you're below critical health, which is red, the boss will die instantly. So I took an intentional hit there in order to bring my health below that threshold in order to instantly kill the boss on the second phase. That's a really weird sound effect. That was a really good Queen Spiders fight. I'm really happy with how that went because it went really like it. I didn't get the fast strat in Foyer Spiders in my. So for context, I ran this category in October for the GDQ hotfix for their Disability Awareness Month event. And that was a different route that we did back then, but I'm glad I got to kind of redeem myself a little bit with how that went.
Yeah, that was like a perfect ending phase. I'd like to go back to what we were saying about the battery and how he left the foyer with 89 battery, avoiding having to recharge. That also plays back in having to manage your health to beat the second phase instantly. That was actually something that puzzled us for a very long time, and sometimes we're like just ending the second phase instantly, and sometimes we had to shoot a pot. And nobody, for the longest time, ever considered it was related to your own health that responded to the Queen Spidor's own health. That took a while to figure out.
And on top of that, if you have a lot of extra health going into that fight, it can take you extra hits too.
Yeah.
The second phase. So now we get a bunch of happiness points. But luckily we don't have to worry about that because the game won't force a recharge in the Chibi house, so we don't have to worry about getting a massive battery. So we just got the Queen Spider sticker there, but that isn't the end of the any % run. We're not going to come up to time for a little bit now, and that's because we still have to go deliver all the things we've been collecting throughout the run for Giga-Robo. Now, normally at this point in the game, the last thing you have to do to activate Giga-Robo is figure out the passcode on its foot. And like we mentioned at the very start of the run, it is located on it's located on an engagement ring in that the dad dropped down the sink. But luckily for us, it's the same number every time. So we can just go straight to Giga-Robo and not worry about it. So We're through the last like major hard stuff. Again, we're going to be trying to manage our battery here to avoid our one last recharge. We have plenty of health because I managed to avoid taking a lot of extraneous hits during phase 2. So this is looking really good. I've got one more plug drop I got to hit, and then we're basically good to go for the end of the run. So
Yeah, this is a really like a unique situation in the game in that the night doesn't turn to day, the night turned to night after the timer reset and it's still night. But
it's really weird.
What's mainly unique about it is that he doesn't get recharged, so if you end up accidentally taking like a secondary hit during the fight, you might need to recharge.
Yeah, all right, we got the plug drop.
Because of the small movement.
All right, so let's go. I don't know why you bothered sliding there. All right, so
you always want to slide.
now we're going to deliver the leg and the battery, and so we're basically good to go here. Time will be coming up very soon. I have to input the password now, and time ends on last password input. So we're going to get ready on time here.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Yeah, one last word from our good friend Plankbeard. He's going to thank us for going through all this effort to save Giga-Robo. All right, get ready on time. And time. Oh, okay, we made it. Woohoo!
That was a good run.
That was, I'm curious, do you know what my time was?
2:14:04.
Oh, wow, we barely made it under estimate.
Oh, wait,
Hey,
2:15 estimate?
You made it under estimate.
Yeah,
Hey.
that's something to be really proud of. This game is so brutally hard to run in any percent run of, so I'm super happy.
Do you mind if I get a couple quick Chibi-Robo based
Oh,
donations
absolutely, go
before
for
the
it. Here,
run
I'll play you
ends?
through a couple of cutscenes here. Technically, run is over, but obviously there's some ending cutscene, but go for it.
We have $50 from LZ. So excited to see Chibi-Robo. Great run. And we have $31 from Corundum Core. An unfortunate side effect to this comfy stream is that I'm so comfy that I'm struggling to stay awake for the rest of Jaxler block. Good luck, great job on the Chibi-Robo run, Jack. I know you'll crush it in Truth or Square as well.
Thank you so much. All right, so yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say shout out to Corundum Core, Cough Cough, one of the 2 mods for Indivisible and Speedrun.com. Cough Cough. Verify my times, please. Cough Cough.
But yeah, so I'm gonna keep mashing through cutscene, even though this is one of those situations where the ending cutscene is so long that we just end time on last meaningful input, which is like the last major gameplay thing of putting in the code. But while we're here, I'd like to give, I want to be brief because we really ran close to the estimate, but I want to give a couple of shout outs. First of all, big shout out, Scoot, for hopping on commentary. Yes, you.
You were talking the whole time.
I know, but
In the bag.
I appreciate you so much for hopping on with me. It's
for
more fun to do
having
it with me. Of course.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like, you've just contributed so much this run, so it'd be wrong not to shout you out first. Yeah, Scoop has been like messing with this game for like upwards of like 5 or 6 years. So it's really been that long, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of insane. On top of that, I want to give shoutouts to the rest of the OG speed crew for this game. Glitch PhD, who is one of my first, like, along with Scoop, one of my first big friends in speedrunning, and just an absolute legend.
I think you might have been my first friend in speedrunning. I want to say you are. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Yeehaw. Shoutouts to yeah, and on top of that, Glitch has also just contributed a lot to this game, and he's just an awesome human being. On top of that, huge shoutouts to Black Chaos and Sonic Crazy, who have both at one point held the world record and have just been super helpful in reroutes are, I want to say, around like 2016, 2017 era. They're also just wonderful human beings. You'll see me say here. You'll hear me say this a lot. The Chibi-Robo community is super duper welcoming, and they're a whole bunch of awesome people. And on top of that, shout outs to Kabasco as well for being the new blood and for basically revolutionizing this run. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, he made some big contributions.
Yeah, this run would not be at this event or any event in particular if it weren't for his contributions to this run. And that goes for everyone, but he was the one who realized that we could do crashless leg early and also just did a bunch of the routing legwork. So
Legwork?
yeah, well, for some of the, how do I put it?
No, I'm saying legwork.
Oh, like leg early.
Yeah. Another pun that wasn't pointed out is 5 times we said if you wanted anything to plug.
Yeah. So yeah, and then one last shout out. I want to shout out the whole Chibi-Robo Discord. So we mentioned this earlier, but our speedrunning Discord is actually combined sort of with people from the Chibi-Robo subreddit, as well as just a bunch of people in general. And right now, as it stands, it's by far the biggest fan community for this series of games. So if you're really interested in either learning some of the speed tech, or if you want to see some, like, there's a dedicated fan art channel. There's, you know, if you want to learn about speedrunning bingo for this game, check out our Discord. If you go to speedrun.com/CR, or just look up Chibi-Robo on speedrun.com, there is a link to the Discord. You can also find a link from the Chibi-Robo subreddit r/chibi-robo. So yeah, and thank you so much to everyone in the community. The casual community for this game has been super accepting of us speedrunners. So we're very grateful for the community that we have.
I'd never think like such an unrecognized game would have such a like popular Discord, or like popularized Discord.
Yeah.
All these other games that I play that just like 5 people know about, it like I sort of consider Chibi-Robo on the same standard, except there's just like a bunch of people drawing like fan art of it. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's so chill. It's so like non-toxic. A lot of the stat people like who mod the Discord, including myself, are people in the queer community. So it's a really queer inclusive space as well. It's just a great place to be. Yeah, shout out Flixie, shout out
Me.
Yee. Shout out all the staff who make the Discord so awesome. That's not like a self-referential pen on my back, but it's a great place to be. All right, I think
we're talking.
Yeah.
You're next anyways. You're not going anywhere.
That is true. So yeah, I guess that kind of segues. So yeah, I'm so glad that you all enjoyed the run, and thank you once again to the Power Up with Pride staff for having me for this run. I've been submitting this run for a fairly long time now, so I'm really appreciative that they can fit in not only this, but the next run, which I'm actually going to be doing next. So I'm going to be swapping over. We're going to be doing a brief intermission to it's a different console, so I got to do some tech stuff on my end, but we're going to be doing a run of SpongeBob's Truth or Square, which is a really sick run. So if you're in the Twitch stream, I hope you're all stick around for that. If you're catching the YouTube VOD, I hope you check that VOD out. But yeah, I've been Jaxler1. Thank you all so much for watching this. We really appreciate it. We're going to go into a quick break.